Hey there. I cannot get over these violas. They are just so cute, looking so adorable. So many good flowers still. I mean, like these hyssop. These are, I think they're called like mango tango. They're still blooming. Them and the catmint still blooming. They've been blooming since midsummer. Such awesome perennials. I have both of them in containers and they just bloom and bloom and bloom, and the pollinators just love them. These are such a pretty like fall color too. I mean, that's perfect. Oh, and of course, Scomphrena. But anyways, I'm out here today because I am after something in this raised bed. And I need to go ahead and pull the row cover off. Let me get that off real quick. And this is what I'm looking for. So these are some green onions. I actually started them in the spring. They got a little bit shaded out, so that's why they're not super huge. But I'm going to use some of these in a recipe, well, like as a garnish tonight. You can snip them, or I just kind of pull them off. I really love green onions. I talked about this in, I think, one of my seed videos. They're one of the plants that I really use out of the garden. Like, you know, you only need a few for a garnish. So like this will be perfect for our dinner tonight. And it's just so much, one, more delicious, and also two, more, you know, cost effective than going to the store and like buying green onions that I'd only use a couple of anyways. I can just use these. So I really love growing green onions. I've talked about it, I know, a lot recently, but yeah, can't say enough good things. So these have been growing all summer. I'm putting in more crops to grow through the winter. I'm gonna both start some inside right now, and I think I'm gonna put some maybe try to start some in my unheated greenhouse soon. We'll see. But I wanted to grab that as a garnish, and then I may harvest, just looking around, I may harvest a little bit of these other greens for like a little side salad tonight. I'm not quite sure. It's so nice to be able to cook out of your garden, and you know, with my garden, like, I don't worry too much about massive production. I have a teeny tiny garden, so I do get some big harvests. Like I had lots and lots of cherry tomatoes this year, thanks in part to this arch trellis and the Juliet tomatoes. I had some big harvests, or big for me, everything is relative. But I don't just harvest like tons and tons of food all the time, but I loved getting even just these little harvests. Like this is still so fun. It's still, oh my gosh, there's a bumblebee. We may be here in the end of October, but still got bumblebees. Yeah, we get, what was I saying? Oh, harvest. Even these small harvests are so great. If there's one like message that I think I would want to sort of convey, it's that even if you have a tiny space, even if you have a tiny little backyard, every little harvest is so valuable. So even if you aren't going to be able to put up all of your tomato sauce for the winter, or you know, you're not I don't know, harvesting all your potatoes and putting them up, this is still great. This is still totally worth your time, totally worth your energy. If you have 1 pot or 2 pots of lettuce greens on your patio, like that is gardening, that is worth your time, that is valuable. I don't know. I don't really try to, you know, talk too much about really deep things here. This is really just fun and experimenting and trying different things in the garden. But I think that, yeah, that's kind of like my mission, is just to sort of share what can be done in such a small space and is so worthwhile doing. So I am thankful, happy, grateful for this harvest. It's all I could ask for. I don't know. Do I want to harvest a little lettuce? I think I might save that for another day, because tonight we're having a white chicken chili. With these cooler temperatures, I have been all about the crock pot lately, so white chicken chili sounds really good. So I am going to, yeah, I'm gonna have that tonight, and we're gonna put some scallions on top and maybe some cilantro. I have to go see, I did start a few cilantro seeds in my green stock, and I have to go see if they actually are doing anything yet. they've sprouted and they were looking pretty good, which is exciting for me because I sometimes have a hard time with cilantro, but I'm not sure if they're really going to be big enough to use even just as a garnish. But I might pull up a few chives as well and have the scallions and the chives, and that'll be nice, a nice addition. I'm gonna go ahead and water everything too while I'm out here and just kind of take a look. The garden's looking really good right now. A lot of fun things, a lot of like just, you know, the greens, but still some flowers. As you can, this is not cilantro, so this is actually parsley, but I've got a bunch of it growing in this pot and I'm super excited because parsley actually will do really well in the winter for me. So this is one that may grow super well for me throughout the winter. I'm hoping to have a big pot of parsley, and then I actually threw some kale over there, but a similar plant to cilantro, and it's looking good. I actually did start a little cilantro in this bed, but it kind of got shaded out. I'll show you what happens when you plant very densely and don't manage it. So I should have managed this little pea plant. I could do it now. Remove like these big spent leaves. When you plant as closely as I do, it does require managing your space. And so now these little cilantro starts will have a bit more room. It's hard because the green onions are kind of too tall to have even underneath these row covers. This bed is not going to be able to have row covers, I don't think, because all these plants are getting too big very quickly. But here we go. Now the cilantro has a bit more room. It doesn't look super great, but we'll leave it. We'll see what happens. Yeah, as I said, I haven't had great luck with cilantro, but the ones that I have in my green stock are looking much better than that. And I'm actually kind of hopeful that maybe I'll get enough cilantro to harvest in the next 6 weeks, maybe month. While I'm out here, I thought I would get done one more little task that I want to do, and that is planting out my Russian sage into this flower bed. So I was hoping that my Russian sage would do well in containers. I actually have 2 Russian sage plants, and I was hoping that I'd be able to regulate their water and everything. They do well in containers. As you can see, I don't know, Russian sage I've always had a hard time with, and I'm not sure, maybe it's just not something that I do well. I just realize every so often that, you know, there are things that just don't work in my garden for whatever reasons. I don't know if it's my climate, you know, I do have a pretty wet garden. It's kind of like lower on a slant, and I know Russian sage likes things drier. At least that's what I was thinking when I went ahead and put them in the containers. I thought, oh, that'll do better, but it hasn't really helped. They still look really terrible, to be honest. But what I'm going to do is just put them in this bed, let them overwinter in the raised bed, and kind of just like see what happens. And they were perennials, but they were like just little perennial starts. So if I lose them, it's not much loss. I'm not too worried about it. So yeah, I'm just gonna pop them into this raised bed. This bed is the one that I have all these flowers in. It's a little bit of a tricky bed because it gets some splashback off the roof, like our neighbor's gutter and stuff. And so some of the plants in here get kind of beaten up, but I thought the Russian sage would be pretty tough, and it'll be on the side where like it doesn't get quite as much splashback. Maybe it'll live again, maybe it won't. We'll just kind of see. And you know, if it doesn't survive, then oh well. But you know, if it does, then we've got a nice pollinator plant that'll bring more pollinators into this area, which is always good. I have these pots here right now, so I need to move them. Gotta find a winter home for, this is my catmint. It got a little shaded out. It's not looking as great as it usually does, but it's still blooming, and these things will bloom. Like this bloomed till Christmas last year. Such an amazing plant. I want to put it in a better prime spot and get a little bit better blooms on it. This one's looking slightly better, but yeah, I had them in a little bit too much shade this past year, and they just, you know, that's just, if you give a plant too much shade, you know, it's not going to be happy. So next year it's getting a prime location, and it can, I probably could have like trimmed back some of the blooms and stuff during the summer. I could have taken better care of it. But this is where the Russian sage is gonna go. So I'm gonna dig up that dill that I tried to transplant the other day. Didn't really work, and pop in the Russian sage. All right, there it is. This is not the season for perennials like this. Oh my gosh, like how they do not look good. But I should add that one of my thoughts for having perennial plant in this bed is that it'll at least, like maybe the roots will be able to hold the soil together and not have it quite as much wash away again from the water issues off the roof. At least that's the thought. That's the hope. Hopefully they survive. We're still in a place where I can transplant something like this. Like we're getting close to my last frost. Probably will have a frost here maybe in the next month. But I think that'll be enough time, and we really won't get cold until like January, February. So hopefully they'll have enough time to kind of establish and get themselves going and not get too damaged over the winter when things get really cold. Again, at least that's the hope. Okay, I have about a million other projects that I want to do out here, things I want to plant. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to them today. It's been definitely tricky to get enough time to get out here, but at least we got a couple things done, and I got something harvested for dinner. I will link that white chili recipe in the description and let you know how good it is. It's from Half Baked Harvest, which she always everything she does is amazing. So I'm sure it'll be delicious, and love a chili this time of year. So maybe if you have some scallions growing in your garden, you can try out that recipe too. I think they're just the garnish for the recipe. Okay, I'm gonna see how much I can get done out here in the next like 5 minutes. Thank you so much for hanging out in the garden. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.